A useful arrangement that's easy to construct in country where timber is everywhere for the taking is a rack for the sled, skis, equipment, and weapons to keep them out of the snow and in good working condition. And when snow is piled up around the base of the tent, it stays warmer and is more secure from the wind.
A long winter is at our doorstep. Imagine the technology that stands between us and Mother Nature. Suddenly gone. The lights go out. We are exposed. It's a struggle to stay warm. The roads are no longer safe. It's the quiet apocalypse. It's the long dark.
There isn't really a game out there right now that delves into the nitty-gritty details of like what would you have to do to survive. And in The Long Dark, we're really focused on that. At the heart of the game, it's really about that survival simulation. So, you know, having to be concerned about your day-to-day survival, looking for food and water, being concerned about wildlife that you might encounter, other survivors that you might run into along the way. You know, what are their motivations? Are they trying to kill you? Do they have knowledge that you might use, you know, to survive? So it's really about creating an amazing kind of sandbox for players to experience, like a survival sandbox basically, that they can go into, and we give them a bunch of interesting choices, we give them some interesting characters to interact with, and we have a bit of a mystery as to what's going on in the world, and then, you know, let them go and experience and find out for themselves what's going on.
I think The Long Dark is going to be a very unique game. We haven't seen a game like it before. We're melding exploration with these themes, and it's not, like I said, it's not about the combat, it's not about the shooting, it's something that's going to be a unique experience.
There's a power in the game's medium that is like nothing else, and I feel like with this project, it's pushing that forward, and I feel like if I was an investor, that's what I'd want to invest in, is something that's actually pushing things forward rather than the status quo.
I think the Long Dark game is different than the games out there. It's more mature. You know, it's not just art, but everything just feels more mature.
The Long Dark to me is a story about struggle. It's about when the world falls apart. People, you know, will be grouping together and trying to sort of find each other, but there'll be conflicts. There'll be moral choices that you have to make that will, you know, affect what happens down the road and how people perceive you and treat you. So to me, I find those kind of stories really engaging.
In the very post-disaster moments, it's going to be very difficult, and there's going to be panic, and there's going to be, people are going to start to behave badly. You know, NPCs and possibly players.
You're a human being who has to make choices that they may not be 100% comfortable with, but the reality is it's a choice between living or dying.
Ultimately, we want to draw players into an experience that is thought-provoking, but is also beautiful, and we want them to be connected and engaged with the world that we're creating, which means there has to be something there that is magical. And I think that's one of the reasons why for us the aurora is such an important symbol. It's like a visual metaphor for how the world has changed. It's a visual metaphor for the power of nature. And it's also just a beautiful thing to look at. And I think that for us, really the mood and atmosphere that we were trying to create is this interesting contrast between like that struggle for day-to-day survival, but also believing that there's something worth surviving for in the world. And it's people, and it's the beautiful world that we live in, and it's you know, trying to do what is needed for a better future.
Living in the city, anybody can leave, but living in this, woods, it just feels like you have to be a little bit more mature. You have to be more grown up to survive and know what you're doing. And we're trying to telling that to the audience in a beautiful way.
I really feel like, you know, we're trying to bring the player into this kind of mystical Northwest setting because it is such a magical environment. And it allows us to create this amazing backdrop for really interesting characters and interesting locations that you've not really seen in a lot of games before.
The interesting thing is it's not the sound as much as it is the silence. You don't realize when you're in a city how much ambient noise there is. And then you come out here and you stand in the middle of a forest grove and you just listen, and it's incredible. Like everything, like little tiny sounds that you never would notice because they'd be drowned out. All of a sudden you're hearing things like, you know, branches cracking and birds in the distance and just little, you know, streams. Like when we went for that walk yesterday, there was all those streams, and you notice like they all sound different. Like one's a little more bubbly, another one's a little more aggressive. And so being in this environment has inspired me to make sure that, you know, that I'm true to the world that Mackenzie will be in.
I'm really excited about The Long Dark. We have an amazing team working on this game. We're going to build something that is groundbreaking and amazing, and we want you to be part of it. So back us, become part of the community, help us make The Long Dark an amazing, memorable experience.